We only see what we look at. To look is an act of choice, is a quote from Ways of Seeing by John Berger that critiques traditional art history by examining how people view art and images, arguing that context, power, and ideology shape our perception. To simply see something is a privilege itself, but to truly look at something and see the layers of emotion behind it is greater than that. Art has been a powerful means of expression, and as AGI Fine Arts article by Clara Wu states, it allows artists to capture their inner thoughts and feelings. With this in mind, it's not too surprising to believe that certain experiences an artist goes through can affect their work, even more so than someone who depicts the same subject matter while lacking any experiences tied to the topic they find themselves presenting. While anyone with the right skills can create a breathtaking piece, it's arguable that the context and shared similarities between the art and artist can be the most captivating part. Artemisia Gentileschi's Judith slaying Holofernes as our prime example compared to Caravaggio's depiction of Judith holds so much more emotion not only in a human nature sense, but also in a way that Gentileschi's own experience of being a woman and assault victim show in her work. It's already known by small glances how different all the portrayals are, though I want to focus more on why Gentileschi's history contributes to that instead of simply differentiating the artworks. According to many sources such as artsy.net, women didn't have many career options in the 17th century Italy. Cultural norms gave most of them two life choices: joining a convent or becoming a mother, with the laws making the men in their lives, such as fathers, husbands, and even sons, making decisions and purchases for them. At the time when women artists were unrecognized for their intellectual or skills, Gentileschi rose to be one of the most sought-out artists of the 17th century. Despite being confined with a male-dominant field, she was able to define the female gaze through her art, disguising the horrors of her life into biblical and mythological paintings. She was able to shine a much-needed light onto the struggles that women silently face through her art. Straying away from the male representations that depicted women as weak or frail, she showcased the strength of what it meant to be a woman, even writing in her Patreon, "I will show your illustration lordships what a woman can do." It is imperative to view Gentileschi's art pieces not only as reflections of sexual violence, but as testaments to her activism, artistic talent, advanced perceptions of spectatorship and gender. Judith, a young widow from a Jewish city of Bethiel, beheads Holofernes, who was struck by her beauty, and he invited her to dinner, planning to later seduce her. As the biblical text recounts, Holofernes was so enhanced by her that he drank far more wine than he had drunk on any other day of his life. Judith saw the opportunity to save her people, and with a prayer and sword in her hand, she saved her people from destruction. Artemisia's painting of this manner is one of the bloodiest, most vivid descriptions of the scene, even going as far as to suppress Caravaggio's version, where Caravaggio pairs his delicate Judith with the haggard Italian who merely looks on, her eyes widening with disbelief. Artemisia depicts two strong young women working together with their sleeves rolled up and their gaze focused. Caravaggio's Judith softly recoils from the gruesome task, while Artemisia's Judith instead braces herself onto the bed and presses Holofernes' head down with one hand and pulls a large sword through his neck with the other. The creases of her wrists show the physical strength required of Holofernes' struggles. In an article by Smart History, it goes over the possibilities where scholars argued that Artemisia identified with the protagonist of the story in a way that her male counterparts did not. The association stems from not only their shared gender, but also from Artemisia's own traumatic experience, with details from her trial against her rapist going over the struggle that Tassi and her attempt to attack him with a knife. She also recalls the sense of betrayal she felt when she realized that her female chaperone had allowed the two alone on purpose. Significantly, Artemisia portrayed Abra as a youthful, strong, and fully engaged in assisting Judith, as a contrast to the chaperone who purposely abandoned Artemisia in her moment of need. While the story of Judith may have held personal significance for Artemisia, it's important to note that the story of Judith was especially popular in the Baroque period, not only for its visual arts, but also in literature, theater, and music. It's important to note this to emphasize on how Artemisia's depiction is far from the only one, but as to why it's considered unique. She portrayed women as powerful, active figures, compared to the other male artists, such as Caravaggio, who represent Judith as delicate or simply for their own gaze. Caravaggio emphasizes the drama, whereas Gentileschi's focus on the struggle, reflecting a more personal portrayal. The theory of sublime art by Edmund Burke and a physiological inquiry into the origin of our ideas of the sublime and beauty describes sublime as threatening yet beautiful, saying that it is the strongest emotion which the mind is capable of feeling. Through Gentileschi's art, it is evident that her motive to make art has allowed her to become a feminist icon in the modern day. Her art still holds so much importance despite being centuries old, allowing so many to resonate. In short, it's inspirational. Her work is able to fit the ideals of sublime, even in modern day, not only for women, but for anyone who has been a victim. It is one of the key aspects as to what pulls her piece away from others, because despite the shackles she was forced upon, Gentileschi took it as a means to produce something in the form of art, allowing her work to share far more than the unique techniques of brushstrokes or blending methods, though she does do a wonderful job in that manner as well. But instead, she is able to give life to her work, leaving it to resonate more with others who come across the piece. Of course, this isn't to say that work without story behind it is meaningless, but rather to highlight the art itself of artists using their work as a means of expression.